Hello, and let's get into some fun stuff for the Leo full moon this weekend, which is going to be on February 1st, this Sunday. I'm recording this on a Friday. I'm feeling very Leo. I have a little wild sweatshirt on today that I just absolutely love. You may not love it, but I love it. And Leo is all about being willing to take out that stage baby and just be who you want to be. Lead with love and courage. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to share some stories. We're going to talk about the astrology. It's my weekly check-in. If you're new with me, my name is Donnell Davis. I'm a healer, a channel, and a transformational mentor that specializes in future self-embodiment. And I love doing these little astrology check-ins, even though I'm not an astrologist per se. I've been studying astrology for years and years, and I love working with the energy of it. And so as we move into Leo, my first question to you is, how has this week been? We had a big shift with Neptune moving out of Pisces and going into Aries, and I felt it. I felt almost as if like the last like if a clock was moving its hands, I could feel like the like just the later degrees. Like on Sunday, I had a really tough time, and my daughter, who has 7 planets in Pisces, was as well. And so that was the end of an era. And now we have Neptune in Aries and Saturn going into Aries next month and the Chinese New Year. And we're still wrapping up the year of the snake. And so you might feel those final sheddings. And I think this Leo full moon is going to present some opportunities to see what needs to be shed, because Leo is all about living from the heart, being creative, it's romance, it's children, it rules the fifth house. It's really who you are when you take up space and be your authentic self. And it's that lion energy, right? They're just not afraid to get on that stage. And so what I've really been sitting with this week is where I'm still editing myself, where I'm afraid to speak truth because somebody may not like what I'm about to say. And I've had plenty of, just as the astrology does, it gives you these opportunities to really see how this is working through your life. And typically for me, it happens like a couple of days before the actual full moon. And it's really sneaky, right? Because you may think you're showing up fully in a way that is true to yourself, but then in retrospect, you look back and go, well, I wasn't really fully. And I had that realization this week with a situation I was in at work where I wasn't really speaking my truth. I was holding back my tongue because I didn't want to hurt the person. Like I could see their behaviors and some of their patterns and coping mechanisms. And instead of, just saying it for what it is, I was worried about hurting the person. And in my line of work, being a coach and a healer, that doesn't necessarily serve, right? Even if it in the moment creates temporary comfort, it doesn't over the long term. And I've always made a commitment and promise to myself that I will speak that truth that sometimes can be searing hot only when it's asked for, but that will change your life. And I found myself in a situation where I wasn't able to really deliver that truth because the person just wasn't open to it, which is totally fine. I also have to trust the timing of life and the way things unfold. But it really highlighted something for me. It highlighted where I had been editing myself and not even realizing it. Because we still have these like little insidious ways sometimes of not taking up the full space of who we are because we're worried that something about who we are, maybe the bigness or our light or whatever it is, may make someone else upset because they don't have what you have. And it's a small way to live, right? Because if you're always worried what somebody else thinks about you, then you're not really fully living. And as a matter of fact, you're just going to, if you're really living in the most brilliant light of who you are, you're going to piss people off. People aren't going to like you sometimes. And it's okay. And sometimes even people project, right? They project onto you. I always get projected mommy wounds, like the people that have not done their work with their mothers. Like sometimes, and I can always see like their mommy wounds coming. Like they start to see me as mommy and start. Yeah, and I just think it's so strange, but I hold that archetypal energy. And so part of being able to show up and have the courage to do so is one, to know thyself so that when there is projections on you, when somebody is putting you down because whatever they see about you and they don't like that's their personal problem, not yours. Like if somebody doesn't like something about you, I mean, what are you going to do about it? It's like if you're coming from a place of integrity and you're coming from love and you're trying to do the best in your life, like good on you, right? But you can't, not everybody's going to like it. And I do find that the people that shine the most brilliant light, um, if somebody isn't secure with who they are, that light can burn, right? Like I've been around people that are just living such a like playing such a big game. And I always admire it because I'm like, ooh, I like that. That inspires me because I want to play a big game like that. And I need people around me that can trailblaze and show me the way, right? And I'm sure you do too. And but sometimes like if I'm not like I dropped my daughter off this week at one of her friends' houses and the house was insane, unbelievable. Like if this house happened to be in San Diego, it'd be like $6 or $8 million easily. But here in Boise, I'm not sure how much it would be. Maybe a couple million. I don't know, 2 or 3 million. I have no idea. Maybe four. I don't know. But it was incredible. And the woman whose house it was, she was just so humble. And I thought to myself, God, I would love to be on the other side of this someday and just like welcoming somebody into my beautiful home. And she just had such a beautiful energy about her. And I was like, good for you that you have this beautiful house. Like, it was such an honor to like get to see it and be in that like abundance. But not everybody sees things that way. Sometimes people project onto you because they see something that you have that they don't, and then they make you wrong for it. And it's like, that's not your business. That's not your concern. Because if you live your life trying to always edit yourself, you're going to find that you're wasting time. You're wasting time. So let's get into like the semantics. Leo, like I said, courage, love, romance, that fifth house energy, children. So that childlike wonder, the lion, the stage, all that kind of stuff rules that fifth house. Aquarius, which is opposing at the sun, rules the 11th house. And it's like futuristic, eccentric, community, impact, big connection. So what we're really working with is the difference between, it's not like an either or, like, am I going to fit into the community and belong there? Or do I just be who I really want to be? It's an and situation. Like I want you to think about like, how can I be my most brilliant light and be a part of a community that accepts me for who I am? Like I don't have to dim. And there are those people out there for you. And be ruthless in your pursuit to have the best people around you. If people want to put you down or they can't handle what you're bringing to the table, bye-bye. You don't have time for that. People that want to be in their victim story and all that kind of stuff, like it's that's their choice. Like you can't change that. So be like whatever you want to be around, make sure you're very choosy and that you trust that you will find your people, because I don't want you to think like, oh, I need to dim my light, or oh, there's no community for me. There is. You're gonna have to maybe put yourself out there, but there is community. So we're holding that juxtaposition. And from a futuring perspective, this full moon is an illuminating moon. So it is going to show you probably in your relationships or your community where you may not be in integrity with yourself, where you have been people pleasing or editing because you want to belong. Um, I know for me, this has been such a lifelong journey, especially in the last 10 years of letting go of people pleasing and letting go of editing. And I still have to work at it. I still have to like, when I show up online, I really have to show like, it's easy for me to not want to get into things, but I actually did a post recently about my 2016 experience, and it was one of the most brutal years of my life. And I didn't hide it. I showed, something because it doesn't affect me the same. There's no like sting for me anymore. I've worked through all that stuff. But a lot of times, I think when it comes to our relationship to ourself, it's about not wanting to self-betray. And I hear oftentimes, like, let's just say, like, if you're in like a similar line of business as me, like if you're a coach and you're not willing, like you say, I want to build my business and I want to do all these things, but you're not willing to put yourself out there, you're not willing to make offers because making offers is part of selling things to be a coach, to have a viable, fulfilling coaching practice. Or if you're in any line of work that requires sales of a product or something, you have to be willing to sell it. And so a lot of times we say, oh, we're stuck or this isn't working out for us. But like, are you really doing the work? Like, are you really showing up and doing the uncomfortable things that it requires and making you get out of your comfort zone? And I know sometimes God, I don't always enjoy those aspects of being an entrepreneur, but I don't want to lie to myself either and be like, you say you want this, but you're not willing to do the things that it will take. So so there's this full moon is going to illuminate the truth of how you've been showing up. And there is an aspect with Uranus where there's surprising revelations, surprising information, because Uranus is in Taurus. And there's an aspect with that where I'm not going to get into all the details, but it's Taurus rules your self-worth. It's the second house. Uranus is the planet that goes in and awakens and shows, and it rules Aquarius. So that's why there's a connection point. And so your self-worth, your body, like this is a deeper question of like, can you be embodied? Can you trust that you becoming more of your true self is going to be welcome and you'll belong? And you have to create a pathway for that. Okay. Like it's the work, right? Like so many of us, like as confident as I am, I have my moments where especially if I'm trying new things or doing, I get the voices in my head and the thoughts of like, oh, who am I to do this and all this stuff. Who are you not to do it, right? I want to pull a few cards, but I'm definitely feeling the energy of compassion towards yourself. I just got off a call with a client actually, and she was telling me she's a very successful woman, runs, I think a multi-million-dollar company, and she's so busy and she says yes to all these things because so much of her self-worth and love story is built on that. And she was like, I need to practice saying no. And one of my favorite things my mentor told me years ago is be generous with your no's and selective with your yeses. And I've always loved that statement. Like, you don't have to, be a yes for everything. You get to manage your own energy and decide what you want to show up for. Because to have that Leo vibe, to have the courage and conviction to show up and be your best self, you can't be parsed out to every single one. You have to hold some of it for yourself. And I think a lot of times we dilute our energy or we get stuck in these ways that it creates stagnation and we're not a channel to receive. And so much of this work that we all do, especially in my practice, is people want to receive more. They want to receive the abundance that's available to them. But the only way they can do that is to remove the density and the blocks and the boulders that are blocking the river from flowing, right? Okay, so let's pull 3 cards. But yeah, it's been a doozy of a week. Oh my God. I have been tested. And one of my favorite things that I do right now is I take a pause and I trust that this thing that I perceive as bad is actually good, that it's leading me forward. Because here's the thing, when everything's going well for you, you're not like connecting to the light of the creator necessarily. You're just enjoying like all the hard work you've already put in. But when things are difficult is when you can say, okay, am I aligned with the light of the creator? Am I doing the things that I need to do? Am I seeing it from the lens of love, or am I seeing it from the lens of the fear or the scarcity or the bad thing that I perceive this to be? And it doesn't have to be bad. And I'm really practicing that because I'm human, just like we all are. And it's easy sometimes to get caught in our stories, isn't it? Oh my Lord. But Aquarius wants to give you a new story. Aquarius is the energy of the future. It's bringing in new ways of being, right? And this full moon, I think it's really this incredible opportunity to think about how you want to be. Like if you were to show up as your full self, like what contribution could you be to your community? The Aquarius is the water bearer. Like what are you bringing back to the community after you really work on being yourself and embrace that? Okay, these cards. I got the devil card, the devil, I got the firm foundation, and I got the romance card, the lovers. And so the story I'm feeling that's coming through with these cards is the devil is having to face your fears. And boy, have I been doing that this week. And maybe for some of you, you have intense fears around being your most authentic self. You're afraid that you won't be liked or loved, and you are looking for that external validation. And I would just really encourage you this week, this full moon, to lean in because the energy will be potent for 2 weeks. Lean in, decide who you want to be, and face your fears, face those parts of yourself that feel unlovable and be there for yourself. Like really love on yourself. Because the devil card is always about facing fears. And it's like the limiting beliefs and addictions that we have that keep us looping. And I especially see this when people are stuck. They have these limiting beliefs that like overpower the belief of possibilities. So be mindful of that. Yeah, the firm foundation card. So to me, this is the courage aspect. This is like, I'm going to create the foundation to be who I want to be in this life. Like if to know thyself and to show up in that way and to trust that life wants to bring you, like life is a creative art, and the act of living is creative in itself. It's rich, it's challenging at times, but it's like art. You always can go back and create a masterpiece of it. It's never going to be a stagnant thing. And you can always go back and add a color or change something. Maybe you decide you want to like start over like, and have a completely blank canvas, right? Like at any given point in your life, you can do that. You can start over. So this to me is very much like use that illumination of the full moon to decide how you're tracking with who you are and how you know thyself. And do you need to show up more and love yourself? And what would that look like? What do you need to work on? And I don't want you digging, right? But just like something very simple, like what's something that you can change very practically right now that would create a new foundation for who you are? Maybe it's not people pleasing as much. Okay, so what would that look like in your day-to-day life? Maybe of all the invites you get, you really feel into it before you respond and you say, okay, that feels like a no. Even though I feel guilty, like I'm going to honor the no and I'm going to say it and I'm not going to give a big explanation to it. Have you ever done that where like I used to do this all the time where if I said no to somebody, I'd have to give like a paragraph explanation as to why I was saying no instead of just saying no, I'm unable to attend or no, I can't do that. And I really, really had to practice that and like sit in the discomfort of the no and learn it and love it. And this is what that card is about. And then we have the lovers. This is your relationships will mirror things back to you. I've had a lot of mirroring this week of communication. I've had a lot of mirroring when it comes to well, just different things in my business, where I'm not fully showing up and other ways where I am. And I'm really proud of the ways I'm doing it. So it's like it's a little bit of both for me this week. So I'm wondering for you, like what's being mirrored back to you in your reality? And where can you have more romance and joy in your life? Because if the fifth house is childlike wonder and joy, how can you get reconnected to that and get excited about where you're headed? Because Aquarius is very futuristic. So that Leo energy, what are you working towards? What are you working the courage up for? Is it a romance in your life? Is it to have more fun? Is it to be more creative in your work or your art or just your hobbies, or is it more to just be more of you? So I want you to figure that out and let life mirror back to you in these next couple of weeks where you might need some support, where you might be blocked, all of that, and just have fun with it. I love Leo energy, and I have two dear soul sisters, one of them who's in Italy and one of them who's in France, who are Leos. They're like one of them is like my best friend, and one of them is one of my other close friends. I love them so much. They are superstars. I love the energy of Leo and the flamboyant, like, here I am world, and really embracing that. And I think we could all use some of that sometimes. It's not for everybody, right? But it's like there are those moments where you need to like toot your own horn and be willing to share with the world who you really are because the world needs your gifts. And given that the world has been a little crazy lately, and frankly, just sad and in despair sometimes, we need to find the good and find the light and work on your own consciousness. I'm going to leave you with this. If you believe that there is a version of you in the future that isn't a people pleaser, for instance, or is showing up more in your gifts or knows yourself even better and you're thriving because of that, I want you to get connected with that. So when you're doing the work in the next couple weeks, instead of it being frustrating or hard, I want you to be aligned with that vision of who you're becoming. And I want you to work your way backwards and say, you know what? I see this version of me in the future is more free. She has an easier time saying no. She doesn't take everything so goddamn personally. That's something I'm working on. And when things are difficult, she rises and finds her way right back. Like whatever whatever your version is for yourself, he, she, them, they, whatever pronouns you're working with, see that future self and then bring that into the now moment and do that psychic energetic surgery on yourself. Like ask God, like, please help me remove the ways that I'm still operating in this. Please help me step into the new version of myself. If you want deeper support with this, I do readings. I do deeper coaching work. And I'm getting really refined to my coaching work. I've decided as of this week, I'm only going to work with people that really want to change. Like it is one of the hardest things to really know if people want to change. But so many times people in this industry get addicted to, you know, wanting that quick fix or that quick change. And unfortunately, this is to change your life and have what you want. It takes work and it is not always hard work, but it is work. And I really want to work with people who want to change. And so if that's you and you're really looking for some deeper support, I work with people on a multitude of different levels, but really deeply healing and knowing thyself. So we do subconscious reprogramming. We are not digging through the past, but we are doing a little bit of constellation work to clear any family oaths or loyalties that you used to have. We're getting really embodied in the present moment. You're going to know who your future self is all the time in my work because we're going to be working to bring that into the now moment so things can change quickly. So it's very, very powerful work. Not for everybody though. It's just not, because some people don't really want to do that deeper work because it's really uncomfortable. They're fighting for their limitations instead of fighting to change. And so if you feel called and you're like, I really want to change right now, I'm really excited for what's possible in my life. I do a free 30-minute consult and we can talk about it and we can see if you're a fit. But I hope you have an amazing Leo full moon. Don't dim your light, shine it beautifully and brightly. Be your best self and trust yourself more than anything else. Trust that God put those gifts in your heart and that special spice and verve that only you have, that people need and people love when you show up fully as yourself. Take care. I'll see you next week.